Hey, this is Jason with the Bana Land Company. Today I want to talk to you about how to sell land that you inherited in the state of Texas. Okay, first and foremost, I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. Big disclaimer there. This is just some guidelines that can hopefully point you in the right direction. I do recommend that you hire legal counsel because all the steps I'm going to mention will require a real estate attorney professional that is licensed to do business in Texas. Okay, so you inherited a piece of property. Maybe it was from a parent, a sibling, a grandparent, somewhere along the line, they gave you this piece of property. The first question you need to ask is, did they leave a will when they died? Or did they die what's called intestate, which means they didn't have a will? If they had a will, then that will needed to be probated. It needed to go through probate, and it should be registered at the court in the county where they passed away. If it went through probate, then this property should have also went through probate, and the judge will essentially say that it needs to be deeded to the heirs. Okay? If that's the case, my follow-up question, which is the deed in your name, will be yes. However, there are cases where, number one, it didn't go through probate or they didn't have a will, in which case there are things that can be done to fix that. One in Texas that's commonly used is called the affidavit of heirship. You should talk to a real estate attorney to see if that could be used in your case. That could help clean that up. Or there's another issue that often happens where maybe the person that left you the property lived out of state. So they lived in Florida or California or New Mexico or wherever. And when they passed away, they had a residence out of state. They maybe did the probate there of their will. But something called an ancillary probate needs to be filed in the county where the property is in Texas, which basically just says, hey, we did it right here, but oh yeah, they had property here, and this also needs to be changed over to the heirs. So all of those questions then point to the question, is the deed in your name? Because in order to sell the property, the deed has to be in your name. I want to clarify, there's a confusion that often happens with people that want to sell me their land in Texas that they've inherited. They say, well, I assume the property taxes and my name is on the county tax records and they send me the tax bill every year. That does not mean that you own the property and that the deed is in your name. Okay, in order to sell the property, you have to call the county clerk's office or county recorder, as it's sometimes called, and you need to ask for a copy of the deed and see whose name is on it. Right? So you might have been paying taxes for 10 years, but if it was still in your deceased father's name on the deed, until you do the legal procedure, being probate or affidavit of heirship procedures, you're not going to be able to legally sell that property. Okay, another question here is, are there other heirs on title with you? Are you the only heir, the sole owner? So maybe you inherited along with your siblings. So yeah, our name's on title, but there's several of us. Okay, in that case, you have to come to an agreement with all of them because everyone's name that's on title needs to sign in order to sell the property. So maybe you could reach out to whoever's name on title, that your siblings or cousins or whoever, and say, hey, let's sell this property. Let's work out a deal. I'll coordinate with the buyer and we'll move on. But they'll all need to sell. Another common thing that happens that's a little more difficult to clean up is where instead of it being deeded solely to the heirs, it's actually given in undivided interest, which is almost like having one share of stock in the land. So it'll be cut up into 100% interest. So you might own 20% or 10% or 3%. There could be a bunch of undivided interest on properties. This happens a lot, properties that have mineral rights. Okay, in that case, you can sell the property, but all the undivided interests need to sign off on it. So sometimes there's just 2 or 3 undivided interests or shares. That could be easy, but maybe there's 30 of them or 50 of them or 100 of them. It could be very complicated to do. Now, it's not an easy process, but there is a lawsuit that you could do in Texas where you can force a sale of a piece of property. It's called a partition suit. And if the property potentially is worth a whole lot of money, but there are other undivided interest owners that don't want to sell it and you really need the money, you could actually do a partition suit. It will cost you legal fees, a significant amount. And then the judge will order the property to be sold at market value, and then the proceeds of that sale be divided up among the interest owners. Like I said, complicated process, probably not the best, but it is an option. So those are a few things that we commonly run into. Now, we have bought many properties from people who have inherited the land in Texas, and my company would love to give you a bid on your land if you're looking to sell. So just go to banalandcompany.com, banalandco.com, and give us your information, and we'd love to reach out. Thank you for watching this video. God bless.